podcast over here. We are jacks of all trades, masters of none, but we are definitely better than masters of one. My name is Evans, and I'm here with my brother.
No, sorry, also.
Great. So today we want to talk about marriage from a layman's perspective. We want to see how the era we're in, we consider marriage from the layman's perspective and very biased towards the men's perspective. so the first thing I want to know is, do you want to get married someday?
Yeah, definitely. I want to get married at some point in my life. Like at some point, someday. I don't know. But yeah, I do want to get married.
You don't know?
No. I mean,
you don't
like,
know when?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know when, but then I know that I definitely want to get married at some
I'm
point.
on the fence about getting married. I don't know if I want to get married at all. Sometimes I want to get married. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to get married. Sometimes I feel like I should be single forever. Sometimes I'm also, yeah.
Who hurt you, bro?
Nobody hurt me. I'm unhurtable. But you see, the thing for me is that sometimes I feel like men don't get much from marriage. If nothing at all, not much. So I feel like it's kind of not in my favor to get married. So sometimes it makes me think I shouldn't get married. Sometimes too, I think about wanting to have little people that I made myself around as well. So then I feel like, yeah, I should get married, but not necessarily because I want to make little people, because little people also annoy me because they're very loud, and I hate loud noises from little people.
Why do you keep calling them little people?
Because they're little people.
For your information, what he means by little people are kids. I don't know why he calls them little people.
Little people. They're jobless people that get whatever they want. And they annoy you because they cry and they are loud. And I hate that. But for me, sometimes I feel like I shouldn't get married sometimes. I don't know. Why do you want to get married? Why do you think that someday you want to get married at some point?
Well, personally, I'll call it a skewed mentality when it comes to marriage, because for me, it's quite direct. So this is what I think, right? Marriage for me makes it official, because my concept of marriage means like somebody that you build something with, right? Like somebody that you've been through a process with. And for me, marriage makes it official. And by official, I mean like with the opposite sex, right? So just like dating, if you're dating somebody, I feel like you can up and go whenever, right? But then marriage kind of grounds you. Marriage kind of makes it like a long-term commitment. So if for anything, that is one of the reasons why I feel like at some point I need to make like that that commitment, or that long-term contract, if you want to call it
yes,
that.
this. But I find it very difficult to leave a relationship. Like, I have been in relationships where I wanted to check out like years before I actually do check out. I always feel like the person will be so hurt, and I don't like that. So I don't.
The savior complex.
I don't know, but I do feel like I should consider how they feel. So I find it difficult leaving relationships, but eventually I just say, what the hell? And then I leave, and I don't care how you feel. So, but for me, I think men don't get much from marriage. I don't know what I can point and say, you got this from marriage, because in some cultures, the children are not even yours. They belong to the woman. So even if you say children, I don't know what would say children are not yours.
But then I think it depends on your perspective of marriage, or what you see as marriage, or what you define as marriage, because in most cases, especially, okay, we're Ghanaian, so in most Ghanaian cultures, right, marriage is not even between a man and a woman; it's between families,
Yeah.
right? It's a union between families.
We need
So
to scrap that.
why why
We
do we
need to
need to
scrap
scrap
that
that?
idea because when you go into marriage and you want to you live your life separately from your family actually,
Yep,
although in concepts that's between families, right?
yep,
But they always advise you when you go to wedding ceremonies like the traditional ones, you go, they say, as you're going into the marriage, it's just you and your wife, or it's between you and your husband. So, let nobody hear what goes on in your family and all of that.
yep.
So the families do tell us that everything that happens in your marriage should stay in your marriage, right? The only thing that they advise the woman to bring home is your money.
Well, I think that mentality needs to be scrapped. But then, just like you're saying, I think that they are just like different levels, right?
Yeah,
Because um, just like issues between people, like especially between two people, the more people you have in the middle of issues, the bigger the issues become,
I
right?
guess.
Because then eventually everybody has his or her own opinions and understanding about the same issue. So when you have different people telling you different things and giving you different advice, at some point you're gonna be conflicted, right? And you tend to make quote unquote the wrong decision. So on that level, when it comes to like issues, that's when I think the advice comes in that try to solve it between you and your husband. But then when it comes to like the general idea or the grander idea about like the purpose of marriage, it's more like family. You understand, like the union between two families. So like I said, it depends on how you define marriage and what your expectations of marriage is when you get married. So yeah.
Well, for me, I think that there are certain things that we need to scrap out. A lot
Like
of
what?
things, like
Let's
you
hear
see, you
it.
see, in Ghana, right?
Yep.
There's this system of progression in life where we say, go to school, right? Go to school, um, get a good job after school, get married,
Yep.
start a family,
Yep.
take care of your family, and take care of your parents
Mm-hmm.
and till they die, and then repeat the cycle.
Mm.
So I think like it kind of puts us all in a box where if you don't want to do some of these things that I've listed, you are kind of like you are not you
Failure.
failed. You're not living the right way.
Yep.
But I think some of us need the boldness to say I don't want to get married. It's not something I want to do. Because I also feel like the idea of making marriage ideal or making marriage, especially for women, making marriage like something to be had for you, like you really need to get married. Mostly the pressure is on women to get married more, and so you find women pushing that let's get married. Like when they're in a relationship, they're
Yep.
like let's get married. But like if you go into other cultures, people can be engaged for like 10 years and they don't want to actually get married, but they're committed to each other. Like, you would even think they were married,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
right? But our culture is different. But I think that the conversation should be really progressive from that. Not everybody wants to get married, but we have been sort of like indoctrinated to think that
I disagree
marriage.
with that word, but yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I
continue. Let's
mean,
hear it.
because like you grow through the phases. You can't really say you don't want to go to school. It is something that they tell you
But
when you step out of that line. So marriage is one of them. If you tell your parents, "I don't want to get married,"
yep.
in this Ghanaian setting we're in, there's a lot of people that's going to be called to talk to you. Why don't you want to get married? What's wrong with you?
Yep.
They start to think you probably have a few screws loose to say you don't want to get married. So it's actually indoctrination to want to be in that line. And so you see your friends getting married and then you start questioning, when am I going to get married? And when for a man, when you're old enough to be like, when you're around 35 onwards, you start feeling the pressures that women feel in their mid 20s to get married. They start telling you, won't you get married? You're old enough to get married. Won't you get married? But I think we need to scrap some of these things now. If I don't want to get married, I shouldn't be made to get
Yeah,
married.
like I said, there's there are some points that I disagree with. But so a quick story, and this actually happened yesterday. I met one of my neighbors. Like, she's a girl and she's married, and so I was having a discussion with my mom. I was like, "Oh, I met our neighbor yesterday, and I think she's even pregnant because she's married." And my mom was like, "Oh, finally!" I'm like, "Okay, wait, what do you mean?" And she's like, "Oh, she's been married for 2 years already, and she just got pregnant." I'm like, "Yeah, maybe they had a different plan." Like,
Exactly. You see, exactly.
And my mom was like, "Okay, she works. Her husband also has a job, so like." What do you mean?
What are you waiting for?
They had a different plan, and but then for me, like the point is that, just like you were explaining, like most of us, we when we're born, we have like a defined life process,
Yeah.
right? Go to school, get married, blah 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 blah, so on and so forth, and just like you comparing that life process to different cultures. Like maybe a typical example would be like, let's say, European culture where marriage is not like that paramount, but then they still have their own life process or expectations. So within every society, there are different sets of expectations, like at
Yeah.
every point in your life. Because trust me, if you live abroad, right, and let's say you are 25, 26, right, you don't, and here we're not even talking about marriage. If you're a girl and let's say you don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, even amongst your peers, they start looking at you like in a weird way, because for them they date for a very long time. So most of them meet their boyfriends or long-term boyfriends or even husbands at a very tender age, maybe in high school or even before high school, and that's what we get the term high school sweethearts,
Yeah.
right? Which is very
Shout
very
outs to
common.
my high school sweethearts.
which is very very common. So if even with them, right, they have their own set of life process that define, like at every point in your life or at certain age, these are the things that we expect you to have. But then it's a little bit different from ours. Yeah, but ours happen to be
Yeah.
to get married and kids.
So my point is, if you feel like it doesn't work for you, why do you get heckled for feeling that this process doesn't work for me? Even if you were, say, in Europe and the process that has been defined by society is not what you feel like you fit in, you're out of it. You don't want to be in that setting.
Yep.
Why should you get heckled for it? Because I feel strongly that if I probably lived in Europe for the most part of my life, I probably would never get married.
Well, you never know. You'll never know, because like people get married for different reasons. Some for financial reasons.
I
Some
really
for
hope my crushes do not watch this, man, because they'll start thinking this boy will not marry me.
well,
But
like,
I will get married. I guess
there's this
eventually.
popular saying that, like, most of the people who have the mentality, oh, I don't want to get married, I don't want to have kids.
Yeah.
Like most of them, they change when they meet the right person.
Oh,
So it might
yeah.
also be your case that until you've met the right person, maybe you'll still hold
Well,
this mentality.
I don't know.
Don't answer that question. Don't answer. Don't answer.
I
If
get
you
in
still want to keep your
trouble.
relationship, don't answer.
I'm gonna get in trouble.
It's not supposed to be a question. I'll say just live it.
I think that perhaps if I meet somebody that I really want to be very intentional with, like it just comes naturally for me to be intentional with this person like that, then maybe I think that's the kind of person you want to get married to. It's not love. It's not the idea that I love this person, but it's more of the idea that I really want to be with this person.
Yep.
Maybe then that will do. But if not, I still feel like there's something that will trigger me and make me check out, and I don't want to check out of a marriage. So
FYI, he's easily triggered.
no, I'm not. I'm a saint.
Yeah, but talking about love, right? Personally, I don't believe in love. At least, like as it is defined.
Red flag.
as it is defined, because my concept of what I sound a little bit narcissistic by defining everything
think?
from my own perspective, but it's not
You
exactly
think?
it's not how it seemed like. But then what I perceive as love is like, for me, especially in a relationship setting, is finding something about somebody. Like I call it a common ground, right? So it's like two people coming together and saying that, okay, you know what, I think that to a certain degree, we are on the same level mentally. It could be about anything. It could even be about, let's say, oh, I want to have kids. You also want to have kids. I think that you'll be a good mother to my kids, right? So that is like the common ground. So it has nothing to do with feelings per se, like. And maybe I'm just talking from a man's perspective, where we tend to be more logical than feeling based, right? And because for me, it still baffles me when, like, let's say two people meet and say that, you know what, I think I'm really in love with you. Like, I don't care what people say. I don't care what you're showing me now. Like, I love everything about you.
Wow.
And for me, that is very, very definitive, right? So at any point in time, if one of them decide, or if for the most part is okay. I nearly said this, for the most part is the girls, but if
Yo, red flag.
so at any point in time, if one of them decide that, you know what, I'm done with this, I don't want to be in this relationship again,
Yeah.
then for me, I always ask myself, like, a couple of months ago, when you said that you love me, what did you actually mean by that?
Yeah.
I thought, because love is unconditional, as we've been made to believe, like, regardless of what happens, right? I'm still gonna be with you.
Yeah.
So even a couple of months down the line, because I know a friend of mine, right? He and his girlfriend had been together for 7 years, right? 7 years, 7 solid years.
Oh yeah, I know
Right.
a couple like that.
And suddenly the girl shows up one day and says that, I think that I don't know myself, or I think that I've lost myself. I want us to go on a break so that I can rediscover myself. Like, what does that
Emotional
even mean?
damage.
What does that even mean? Like, because look, we've been together 7 years, and being with somebody means that there are certain things that you might have to give up, or there are certain things that you might need to compromise on in order to accommodate the other person. So it's like a vice versa situation.
Yeah.
But then, if at some point you feel like, okay, I have morphed myself into like the perfect girlfriend for this guy, and this guy has also morphed himself into the perfect boyfriend for me. But then you feel like, okay, looking back, I feel like I'm a different person. That is the whole point of relationship. That is the whole point of a
Yeah.
long-term relationship,
Yeah.
right? You kind of need to sacrifice some part of you.
Yeah.
But then if you come back after a couple of years and say, you know what, I think that I cannot hang out with my friends anymore. I think that I cannot go to the club like I used to, or I cannot talk to other guys like I used to. So I feel like I've lost myself. Then what the hell are you talking about? You understand? So for me, it's like, you know what? Don't talk to me about emotions if you don't know what it actually means. If you know that you cannot sustain it over the period, then maybe it's a big ask, because, like, just like emotions, it goes like up and down, right? So that is why I think that you always need that common ground. So when the emotions are down, you feel like, okay, you know, for this reason, I'm still going to be with this person, right?
Wow.
Because the common ground for me is more sustainable than just feelings.
Still, I don't know, but you see, well, I think also in a relationship, people learn to discover a lot of things about themselves in a relationship. But I don't want us to talk about relationships more. I want us to talk about
to focus on marriage. Yeah, you definitely get
and
right soon, bro.
yeah. So right now, I want us to look into traditional gender roles, yeah, because
Oh, that is a topic I don't like discussing. That is a topic I don't like discussing. But yeah, let's see how far we
God,
get.
let's see.
Let's share it.
So like traditional gender roles.
Yep.
And in the basiest, is it basiest?
Not the most basic form.
I think I just created a new word and I'm going to use it. The most basiest form of it that I can explain is women doing the woman duties and men doing the men duties
Yep.
in a marriage. So like we know that we say it's the man's duty to provide and it's the woman's duty to make a home,
Yep.
more or less.
Yep.
So basic.
So I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's traditional gender roles. And the reason why I wanted to talk about is that these days, right,
Yep.
there's a whole lot of conversation which goes around like women say, I don't think I want to cook for my husband because when I come back from work, I'm also tired. He's also tired. Why should I be the one to cook? Then, you know, they make certain statements like that.
Yep.
And then the men, on the other hand, we are like, well, if you feel like you're too tired to cook, I'll be too tired to pay rent. Or something like that. There was actually this tweet that this lady said, the day my husband asked me to pay house rent is the day that I move out. And this guy came to comment on the tweet and said, and go away, you can't even afford house rent.
Emotional, damn it.
All right, so, but I think that the conversation on traditional gender roles needs to shift. I feel like in the day and age that we are coming in, it's not sustainable for us to maintain traditional gender roles where it is the man's duty to bear the majority of the financial burden of a home, and it's a woman's duty only to be the caregiver and, you know, making the home, whatever all of that entails. I think that, and most especially outside of our culture as in Ghana or maybe Africa, I've watched a few videos on YouTube where married couples talk about it and they say that no, especially their financial responsibilities in the home is divided according to who earns the most. So if it's the woman that earns more than the man, the woman pays for some of the higher financial expenditures, and then the man takes care of the rest. And so there they don't have who cooks. I mean, the better cook cooks. It's not an issue of you're a woman, you should cook. And you have decided to stay together as a married couple, then since you are the better cook, it makes sense that you should cook, because if I cook for you, you will not enjoy it.
Possibly.
Yeah. So I think that's how traditional gender roles conversation should go. And we are trying to break away from traditional gender roles, but we are not having the right kind of conversation.
I think like with traditional gender roles, I think that sometimes like the conversations we have around it is very, very skewed, right? Because I keep asking myself this question, especially when it comes to some of these topics, like how are some of these mentalities formed, right? So
I could give you an answer to that.
What?
I can give you an answer to that, but I'll let you go.
And for the most part, right, I think the most easiest answer is like society. But then what is society per se? So for me, society is like whatever, based on the conditions that we are in, whatever we agreed works for all of us, where everybody still flourishes to a certain degree based on their condition. So couple of years or maybe hundreds of years down the line, men were going out to hunt, and they were bringing in like pretty much everything, right? And then the women stay at home, cook, take care of the kids, and blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So in my skewed mentality, that is how I think some of these things were formed, and it actually worked based on the conditions that they had at that time.
Yeah.
So having these type of conversations in our time, I think that it shouldn't be like a very strict line that you're a woman, you should do that. You're a man, you should do that. Personally, I would describe myself as a traditional man, but then with a modern twist, right? And by a modern twist, I mean like I know.
What is you saying, bro?
No, because then the reason why I'm saying that is that when you call yourself a traditional man, like people draw this very, very clear line that if you're a traditional man, then this is how you should be.
Yeah.
Right? If you're more than man, then this is how you should be. But I don't really subscribe, or I don't really fit into one very clear category. Like, I'm traditional in certain sense. Like, okay, I believe that the man is the head of the house. It might be religious, it might be cultural, it might be whatever. But then what I do believe in is that there needs to be one leader, right? And by a leader and somebody following, or by leader and following, doesn't mean that the leader makes all the decisions or is like authoritarian. But then you collaborate. But then there still needs to be someone who's leading, someone who's throwing up the vision, and people also contributing to the vision, right? So that is where I stand when it comes to some of these things. So I wouldn't say to each his own, but I would say that find what works for you, like based on your condition.
Yeah.
Right, what works for you? Because I remember one of the advice that my mom gave me was that, okay, when you're looking for a woman or when you're looking for a wife, find somebody who can cook, somebody who can clean, somebody who can maintain the house. And I think that those things are very, very relevant. But then I did tell my mom that I can literally pay somebody to clean my house if I'm in the position to. I can pay somebody to cook for me if I'm in the position to. So right now, what my focus is on right now when it comes to a woman, like when it comes to finding a wife, like I wouldn't say I have a list, but at least I know certain things that I look out for the most, like somebody that I can have conversations with, right? Somebody that has perspective, somebody who I feel like, okay, I can bounce off ideas with. Quick question, have you ever been with somebody who makes you feel like they have like literally no perspective?
Bruh.
Right? It is emotionally tiring, and and yes, maybe that person definitely is not meant for me. But then, if I'm with somebody who can clean, who can cook, who can take care of the house, who can make babies, whatever. Sorry, who can make babies, whatever. But then,
Bro, so many red flags, man. Girls.
No, I'm just saying because, like, from the traditional
Says you're
sense,
gonna make babies.
but then that is exactly my point, because from the traditional sense, it's like you need to look out for somebody who can make babies, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if I have all these things and I come home and I feel like I need to talk to myself, right? Or I need to look outside for somebody I can have conversations with, because I have like a lot of perspective on different topics. So if I cannot have those conversations with me, then with my wife, then it looks like I always need to go out, and that is what leads to cheating and stuff like that. You understand? So I would say, whoever you're with, based on the condition, find what works for you, right? Build a customized version of what you think would sustain you, because this whole concept about marriage is all about sustainability to me. You understand?
The thing about traditional gender roles and the shift in the conversation is that I feel like
Let's share it. I know it's something controversial, but let's share it.
most Ghanaian women want to eat their cake and have it too. They would not want to be sharing the financial responsibility of the home, but they would also not want to be limited to the role of cooking and cleaning. When I say cooking and cleaning, I'm putting all of that in the
Limited
box.
to the role. That is a very strong phrase, man.
I mean, it is what it is.
Red flag.
No, that's the true facts. Facts.